How's it going, everyone? It's me, Zeez, and today I have a pretty interesting video for you all. So a little over a week ago, Fire Emblem Heroes added a new PvP mode in their latest update called Summoner Duels. As opposed to Fae's other PvP modes, this time you could actually fight people in real time, and you could even fight people you know using special passwords. Knowing this, the Fae community decided to put together a tournament, which I entered. The tournament was ran by Faerghast, a very popular Fire Emblem YouTuber, and there were quite a lot of big names in the participants as well. There was Phoenix Master 1, Marble Sodas, Zeshadow, Eldervi, Speedy Hawk, Promise Me One Thing, and plenty more, including myself. Before we get into the matches, I am going to go over my team really quickly, but before even that as well, I do want to just quickly say that this tournament was a really good opportunity for me. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about the game, and I also think I grew as both a content creator and a person from this. I'll get into more of that later, but that's towards the end of the video. So for now, let's take a look at my team. So here's my team. Summoner Duels has 5 units on it, so you bring 5 in, your opponent brings 5, and you go at it. And you each have a captain and special skills. I'm not really going to go over that. This video is supposed to be more for people who already know how the game mode works. I just thought a little intro would be nice, but regardless, my team captain is Brave Marth. His stats aren't correct on the screen because we actually played with merges off. I'll go into the rules as I'm explaining the team, but my captain is Brave Marth. He is, I believe he's plus attack, he's plus attack, and I gave him an ascendant asset for speed because I wanted to make sure he could, double, because he's a very fast unit, and he's minus defense. Not that you can really tell here, but he is minus defense. That is his flaw, because the original flaw returned since we played with merges off. But I decided to go with pretty much a base kit with only adding reposition and attack res form. Having the attack res form, I'll get into that a little bit later. Marth is mainly there to be the center stone of the team, always being out in the front and always ready to attack. So my next unit I have this is probably one of the most important units on the team. Everyone is important actually, but this unit is very interesting. We have the Brave Edelgard. All my units are max Dragonflowered, by the way. I grinded up all my Dragonflowers as much as I could. She is ally supported with Marth because usually she is going to be standing right next to him in my game plan. So having the +2 to all stats when standing next to your ally is pretty nice. Summoner support actually does not count in this mode. When we turn off merges, it also turns off summoner support, but for some reason ally support still stays on, so I made sure to ally support Marth and Edelgard. So, as you can see, it's pretty similar to her base build, except I have, I guess I did swap a little bit. So I have swap here mainly so that since Brave Edelgard can move to an adjacent spot between an ally that's 2 spaces away, I thought doing some swap shenanigans since she can move 3 spaces could be helpful, and it was helpful in my run. I have Noontime, that's her classic, she comes with it, but I wanted to make sure she could heal. And her A, I have the Svalin Shield. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I basically have this Edelgard was to counter Brave Erica. Brave Erica is a very common threat in the Summoner Duels meta. Very good with Kanto, good against armored units, and if she procs her special, you're pretty much dead. So that's why I have the Svalin Shield, so she can't use her effective against armored, and it actually worked out against Brave Erica, but unfortunately, I didn't really get a good chance to only stall out Brave Erica in my runs, but Edelgard definitely was very good. I have the Black Eagle rule, everyone knows what that does, very good. Then I have attack and defense near save 3. This is what really helped me out. She was my savior unit. You can only have 1 save unit on a single Summoner Duels team, so you can only have near or far save. I opted for near save because I was really scared of Brave Erica. But then there was also threats like Yuri. He's a very other common unit who could really shut me down. Then I have close defense 3 for a little bit of defense and res. Just want a little bit extra of that, so we have 10 defense if I'm trying to save a unit, so I just wanted to make sure she was as bulky as possible to save, our units, mainly Marth. And then the next unit is part of the Trio Core. This is what I call the Trio Core. My Marth, Edelgard, and Niffle are part of my core. This is a very strong set of 3. So Niffle is here with a pretty weird build. So she's got the first 2 things are part of her base kit, Frostbite Breath and Rally Defense Res. Then I opted for Moonbow. I originally had Noontime because I wanted to make sure she could heal, but in fact I thought that wasn't really good, and I needed Moonbow because Niffle can actually do some kills. Niffle is probably the most balanced, I should say, of my whole team. but I'll get into that later. So she has Distant Counter. That is not part of her base build, but I decided to give that to her because she is going to be standing behind Brave Marth and Edelgard, supporting them with her C skill, which gives damage reduction. And I didn't want people to just snipe her for free, so I decided to put Distant Counter on there. And since she could have, the damage reduction, she could have Legendary Micaiah's Distant Guard Plus, which I'll get into later. It just helps out. And then I have Lull Attack Speed 3 because I was scared of running into units with tons and tons of bonuses, so I wanted to make sure I could just get rid of attack and speed, since Lull Speed does neutralize bonuses, so that's very good. Then obviously the Domain of Ice. This was like probably the top skill that helped me, is it would really support Brave Marth and Brave Edelgard's bulk by giving them 30% damage reduction and speed and res +4. And since they needed a little bit of extra res, that really, really helped. And I also have speed and res form, just in case I was getting targeted by some magical allies, because I noticed my team is not really that good against magical allies. That's why I had my next unit, Legendary Micaiah. So this was a pretty basic build. The only thing I switched was Maiden Saws for reposition, put Moonbow on her, I don't know if she came with that, and then I also put Deathblow 3 on her just so we could opt for some kills. But I decided to go for her base kit because I think her base kit is pretty strong. It helps her live attacks. I think the damage you take after Fury doesn't really matter in Summoner Duels because you mainly go for trades. And Micaiah kind of gets one-shot by anything that isn't a mage anyway, so I figured it doesn't matter. Plus the Joint Distant Guard did help out with the defense and res +4 if I was getting attacked from afar. So pretty much we just have a lot of small buffs from every single character going around supporting the main two frontliners, that of course being Brave Marth and Brave Edelgard. And it's just a really weird... my playstyle is a very balanced / defensive style, and that was what I was going for. And then lastly, I have Dorothea, mainly for support. She has a pretty mixed build. I have Moonbow, just so I can kill easier if that comes to it. I've got Wings of Mercy, that way I can go save a unit if they're below 50% of HP. Then I have Guidance and Aerobatics just for some movement shenanigans, because I wanted to make sure Dorothea could move around a little bit, have a little bit more freedom with moving. And then one of my secret strategies that I didn't get to pull off was a harmonized skill to Brave Edelgard. Since you can actually dance from 2 spaces away, I figured I could catch somebody off guard with that, since you can only dance to people from the same title as you, but it worked within 2 spaces. But I didn't get to pull it off, so there is my team. My overall defensive plan is to have a triangle where it's Brave Marth, Brave Edelgard, and Niffle, all supporting each other. Legendary Micaiah can kind of come in, also support from the back with Joint Distant Guard, and then Dorothea is the main supporter that helps me get around to places I need to go. So there is my team. If you're curious why I didn't have a Kanto unit, well, in the tournament we actually limited the use of Kanto to 1 unit. So if you have, let's say, Yuri, that is your only Kanto unit you can have. You cannot have both Yuri and Brave Erica if they're both running Kanto, which Brave Erica has Kanto in her B skill. So if you swapped her B skill, you could run Brave Erica, but nobody did that because her B skill's what people use her for, and also the Kanto. So it's just, Brave Erica's very strong, so you would want the Kanto with her. So I decided, because I thought Kanto was really annoying, I thought, hey, I'm gonna try and go in and not use Kanto, because I just want to see how far I can get without having to use it. I didn't want to have to rely on just hitting and running, because I didn't really like that playstyle. Even though my playstyle was kind of lame because I just kind of set up a defensive wall, I wanted to see what I could do without Kanto. But with all that said, let's move on to the first match. So real quick, before we begin our first match, there were actually 3 pools matches that determined where you would place in bracket. I won't be going over my pools matches, but I did link them unlisted down in the description. I was in Pool D, so that means I was up against Speedy Hawk, Eldervi, and Pushi. And I went 2-1 in pools. I beat Speedy Hawk and Pushi and lost to Eldervi. And once again, if you're curious, you can go watch those down in the description. I'll probably put timestamps to when the fight actually starts because I didn't bother cropping them. But here we go. My first match was with DTM Fae. And DTM is a really, really strong battler. Once I started getting into the Fae community about 2-3 months ago, I've been watching DTM and Promise Me One Thing quite a bit. I didn't run into Promise this tournament, but I ran into DTM, and it felt very awkward because it felt like I was fighting one of my teachers. That I would consider DTM and Promise my teachers just because I've watched them a lot and I've learned a lot for how the meta works, and I don't know, I've learned a lot from them. So this is like an opportunity to fight my professor, if you will. So I knew right from the very start that I was going to be in a bit of trouble. So DTM had a strong team with Lucina, Erica, Peony, Alm, and Henriette. While I was prepared for the brave Erica, I was not prepared for the Alm. So on turn 1, we started off trying to get our units into the area. We were both running Earth rendering, so having our captains in the center was probably extremely important for both of us. What was the biggest threat on my opponent's team, in my opinion, was his Alm. I was so terrified of the Alm because what Alm can do is run in, wind sweep with his weapon, and just kill you without you being able to attack back. And since I have near save on my Edelgard, that means the Alm would be attacking Edelgard, and that means she would go down to Brave Alm. And that was scary. So while I was prepared for the Brave Erica, I was not prepared for the Brave Alm. And as you can see, by the end of turn 1, DTM had already set up the double trap, which scared me so much. It was either choosing Brave Erica or Brave Alm to come in. So this was pretty troublesome for me. I didn't really know what I was going to do against this. I spent a long time deciding, but I decided eventually to just move Edelgard out because I was just too terrified of losing Edelgard this early. However, DTM was pretty ready for moving it out. That's why the double trap, it was choosing between Marth or Edelgard to go down, and I decided to lose Marth. Kind of unfortunate, but things ended up that way. So I lost my captain, which meant no captain kills for 3 points, and I knew this was already going to be a struggle. But I figured, hey, the game's not over. I can think of something here. After a lot of time consideration, I moved up Brave Edelgard and Legendary Micaiah and got them ready to attack the Brave Erica. However, Henriette was a problem, and she stood in my way, so I had to take her out first. And this was a little scary because I didn't know if it was worth the trade. I knew immediately if I was going to take that Henriette, the Brave Alm would come in and kill Edelgard thanks to the near save. And that's exactly what happened. I moved Niffle up to maybe see if the damage reduction could prove to be enough, but Brave Alm was just too strong and my Edelgard fell. And that was when things started looking very grim for me. With my core gone, things were looking very difficult. However, I knew that my team was quite balanced in that even if my core fell, I had a very strong offense that could recover from it. Legendary Micaiah can pretty much one-shot anything, and Niffle, well, while she's not the strongest, she has some offensive power. The only problem was, DTM was going to move first next turn, so I was guaranteed to lose a unit. And I was thinking of ending turn, but with both Brave Alm and Brave Erica present right in front of me, I knew immediately that I had to take one of them out. The question was, which one? Both of them were pretty big threats. The Alm could attack me and I couldn't attack back, and the Erica could hit me and then Kanto away. So, after considering, I decided to take out the Erica because I thought that Kanto was just too strong. If that Erica hit me and I wasn't able to hit her back, I knew that I was going to be in a lot of trouble, so I opted to take out the Erica. Unfortunately, the next turn, I lost Micaiah, one of my strongest heavy hitters, and there were still three units left on my opponent's team. However, 2 were red units, and I still had Niffle. Niffle, thankfully, was able to one-shot the Brave Alm, so that's exactly what I did. After taking out the Alm, DTM opts to run away with Lucina and didn't reposition the Peony. This is something DTM, after battling me, said he regretted. He thinks he should have repositioned the duo Peony, but thanks to that, I was able to use Acrobatics, or Aerobatics, whatever the frick it's called, and get in there and take out the Peony with Dorothea. I decided to do this instead of dancing and having Niffle take out because I was scared if Lucina could one-shot Niffle. So I decided to do it with Dorothea instead and stay perfectly out of range. Also having Lucina being debuffed for this turn. This is where DTM was in a really bad spot. After my comeback, if you will, this was basically a comeback I guess I should say, since I was losing in the beginning, DTM had to retreat with the Lucina but couldn't leave the square or else he would have lost points, giving me the victory by 1. That would have been 10 points to 9, since I would have had 2 more units in the capture area as opposed to him, so that would have been an easy forfeit. So instead, I decided to move up Niffle, and then this is where things got a little bit tricky. I could go and dance Niffle and have Niffle attack Lucina, but I was scared that if I would get one hit off, Lucina would be able to counterattack and be able to kill Niffle. So I decided instead to attack with Dorothea since I knew she could live. The only reason she was going to live was because of Nifl's damage reduction, but what was good is on turn 5, I got the debuff on the Lucina, thanks to Dorothea still being alive. DTM took out the Dorothea, so it was down to Nifl versus Lucina. If Nifl couldn't kill, it was over. However, Nifl could kill, and by 1 unit, by a comeback, by a very close game, I was able to win game 1. And that was where my confidence kind of got boosted. I did not think I would win against DTM, my professor, if you will. But I pulled through, and next I was up against Eldervi. So, match 2, I actually knew about my opponent's team going in beforehand because I had seen Eldervi play Promise Me One Thing, and that did not go too well for Promise because Eldervi had a ultimate team. Eldervi I also lost to in pools. He was using a completely different team at the time, but this one had amazing synergy. Pretty much, he used the Pala with Reciprocal Aid to lower her HP. Bernadetta's weapon would bring Pala into perfect vantage range. Hector would make the special ready, as well as Secret Maneuver, and then Azura was there for support, and Ellie was there with bonus doubler, and that supportive team just resonated so hard with each other to make Paula an absolute monster. So I knew that my only chance going into this was to somehow be able to stop Paula from proccing Vantage. The only way I could do that was by using Nifl. See, Nifl's Frostbite Breath inflicts flash after combat. So I knew that Nifl was the key to my victory, and if I had lost Nifl, that there was no way—
Ruptured Sky, dealing big damage against Nifl, and that's a KO on Nifl.
Yeah, so, funnily enough, I actually didn't know that Frostbite Breath at the time gave Inflicted Flash. So, that was funny, right? Yeah. So I eventually got swept by Eldervi. There was not much I could do. I ended up going for the auto battle after I realized I couldn't really do much. The Paula was just too strong, and even if I had a chance to inflict Flash, Paula was so far away from every one of the other units, there wasn't really an opportunity where I could even inflict Flash on the Paula. So while this game still did have a lot of thinking on my side, it pretty much was a sweep by the Paula, and that was about it. Eldervi played extremely well, and I don't really think I need to go into too much more detail than that because it really is just a sweep from the Paula. So I lost game 2, went down into loser's bracket, and my next opponent was somebody who I had been watching for years, one of the most popular Fire Emblem YouTubers of all time, Phoenix Master 1. So before we get into this next match, I noticed that this tournament at this point was going on for an extremely long time. The tournament was actually over 12 hours, which is insane. I did not know it was going to go on for that long. I thought it was going to be maybe like 7 or 8 hours, so I had a personal commitment later that night, and I had to get to it. It was pretty important, so I was not looking good on time here. So I'll get into that more after the match, but for now, let's take a look at my match versus Phoenix Master 1. So right from the very beginning, I knew that Phoenix Master 1 had a very high chance of beating my team. His team was really well balanced, very good offensively, and just movement-wise, he had a lot of 3-range movement. I believe 4 of the 5 of his units could move 3 spaces, and he had Ash, which allows units to move within 2 spaces of where she is, meaning that he could pull off some pretty impressive maneuvers, which I will say he did in this. So I knew immediately that the map was going to determine who the winner was going to be. There are 5 maps if you play in free duels. Right now in favor battles, there's only 1 map, which is Long River. That map is probably my favorite. However, I knew that since everyone was pretty much very experienced on Long River, I thought, well, here's the thing. Phoenix Master is so good at this game. He plays this game like a god. There's no way I can win on Long River. There's no way, especially with his long movement team. So after PM1 and I decided on our bans, we eventually ended up on the enclosed map, and this map was extremely good for me. The map has 4 trees in the center, which pretty much blocks a lot of PM1's movement options with his long-range units, so that was going to be very good for me. And thus, the battle started. Ghast decided to put on some really intense music, which I had never actually heard before. It is Ashera's theme, also called A Grasping Truth, and having never played Radiant Dawn before, this was, after I rewatched the VOD, It was a very intense song for a very intense battle. This battle went on for nearly 40 minutes because both of us were making such calculated decisions, and I don't even know how to explain this match. It was such a good match. So to save some time, I'll skip ahead in a little bit of a turn one. We spent a lot of time making our decisions, nearly running out of the clock each time on both sides. I think I spent a little more time deciding than PM1 did. There was even a point where I actually ran out of time and got screwed over by auto battles, so that was interesting. But basically, what PM1 was doing was setting up his long-range units to start attacking mine. And what I was doing was setting up a wall. I put out legendary Micaiahs to block out any res units, such as the Gunthra. The Gunthra was a very big threat because I knew she could target Edelgard, and Edelgard wouldn't be able to counterattack. Or she could target Niffle and most likely kill Niffle, which meant I would lose a very important part of my team, that of course being the damage reduction. Somehow, I was really lucky for this. PM1's Regin was not able to take out my Brave Edelgard. Regin is a very strong character, and I knew that the two biggest threats on PM1's team were Regin and Alm. I'm just weak to sword units because my near saver is an axe unit, so having Alm and Regin being there was a constant threat for me, and I was very, very scared of them. So it came down to offense versus defense. I was playing extremely defensively, and PM1 had to go in for the offense. It was just who broke first. So right here, I opt to swap the legendary Micaiah in, that way I can get some more units in the capture area and also put a little bit of threat on PM1's team for next turn. Having that legendary Micaiah out there is a massive threat against PM1's team, since I could pretty much one-shot all of his cav units and most likely Brave Alm too. I think the only unit I probably wouldn't be able to one-shot with legendary Micaiah is maybe the Ashe, and she was too far away anyways, so PM1 opts to retreat with Regin, putting Regin out of the capture area, which immediately I noticed if I get my Marth into the capture area, Earth Rending would bring the capture area one space back, meaning I would have a really solid defensive advantage for next turn. So, turn 2 begins, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. The most important thing was to keep my wall alive. I had a lot of help from these trees, and it's very funny, the Twitch chat was freaking out about the trees. They were so mad about how the trees were getting into PM1's way, which they definitely were. The trees were a huge help. I opted for a different little setup. The legendary Micaiah was actually part of my core this time, being supported, or actually being on the front lines as opposed to being in the supportive side, because I knew the Gunthra could not take her out. Gunthra could not do anything, Sigurd could not do anything, Brave Alm could come up, and I knew that the Brave Alm was the threat. I knew earlier, since I wasn't allowed to watch the stream, I didn't know the damage check from PM1's, but I knew because he retreated with the Regin, I figured that he wasn't able to take out, because you could just Canto if you wanted to take out the Edelgard. But since he ran away, I figured, okay, the Edelgard doesn't die to Regin. I even did some test and favor battles. Edelgard did not die to Regin, like a plus defense neutral Regin. I tested it out, so I knew that Brave Edelgard would survive the Regin, but I knew from DTM that Edelgard would probably not live an attack from Alm. So I knew this battle was a bit of a stall, and I knew that once the Brave Alm came in, that is when the true battle would start. This was just trying to find an opportunity. Both sides, both players, I'm saying this as if I wasn't one of them, but both of us were trying to find an opportunity to strike, to hold our wall, to break the wall. It was really, really hard. It was just a very big stall, and it was actually probably a very entertaining stall after rewatching it, because just seeing the small little things that PM1 did to try and break down my wall was so insane. I have to say, PM1 is a genius being able to do this. There's a really interesting strat that he does later. So, remember how I said I started running out of time? Here's when I decided I wanted to take a risk. I knew that Brave Alm was such a threat, but I didn't know if I wanted to lose legendary Micaiah because of it. But I did decide to. However, instead I ran out of time before I was able to attack the Brave Alm, and instead Dorothea came down and danced for Niffle. This put me at a bit of a weird spot because now Gunthra could take out the Dorothea. The only question was, did PM1 want to do that? And here's the thing, auto battle, this was actually a bit of a 50-50 for me. It kind of acted as a bait, because I was able to bring PM1 in with his Gunthra, and since he didn't have Canto on the Gunthra, Gunthra would be stuck there. That means I could attack Gunther with Brave Marth and get the captain kill. After a lot of deciding, PM1 did opt to take out the Dorothea with the Gunthra, finally putting a chip into my wall. So PM1 here actually set up a brilliant trap. Here's the thing. I have a really solid risk to choose here. So here's the thing. I can take out the Gunthra with Niffle or with Marth. Preferably with Marth because of the captain point skill, but here's the thing. The Brave Alm is in range, and this is where the risk comes in. If I don't take out Gunthra here, Regan comes up, repositions Gunthra out of there, and then cantos away, and then PM1 has a solid advantage. But if I do take out the Gunthra, the Brave Alm can come in. Brave Edelgard was in a spot where near save would trigger. However, being desperate for points, I ended up opting to kill the Gunthra with Marth, expecting a trade. However, I was lucky. The Brave Alm couldn't take out Edelgard, barely. It was because of the damage reduction, the summoner support, the dragon flowers, I don't know what it was, but she would live on 3 HP from the Brave Alm, barely not being able to be taken out. And then this is when PM1 got a different plan, bringing up Ashe with Regan. And this is when I knew things were going to get interesting. This was probably one of, if not the biggest mind games of the entire game. So, Niffle was my last member left. I knew that I had to set up a counter trap to PM1's. So, after looking at the Ashe, Brave Alm had a lot of pickings. Brave Alm could attack Legendary Micaiah, take out Legendary Micaiah. That's one of the biggest threats on my team gone. PM1 could also attempt to maybe do some damage to Brave Edelgard, lowering her down below 25% of her HP, and then pretty much making her effectively useless for the rest of the game. Or I could set up the trap, and this is where it started. I could leave Niffle out of range. However, what I decided to do, because I noticed that PM1 specifically put Ashe up there for a reason, and that was probably so that he could stand on the tree, which he couldn't normally do, meaning that he was probably going to be targeting the Legendary Micaiah. Knowing this, I decided to put Niffle down for 2 reasons. One, because I was like, well, maybe she'll survive thanks to damage reduction. That was not true. So I did it just to give PM1 more choices. I wanted to put Niffle in because, for one thing, I think doing this was a really good move on my part, because putting Niffle in gave PM1 too many choices, I think. You could go for the Niffle, even though it would be saved by Brave Edelgard. I believe, for some reason, when he tried to take out, on this turn, for some reason, Brave Edelgard would be taken out now. I forget exactly why, but now, I think it might have been because of the attack bonus on the Alm, thanks to Sigurd or something, but now, Brave Alm was able to take out the Edelgard. This is where I believe PM1 made a mistake, and decided to opt for killing the Legendary Micaiah, which I thought he was going to do last turn. In my opinion, I think taking out the Edelgard probably would have been better, but I can't really say that because Legendary Micaiah could pretty much one-shot everyone on his team, so I can see why he would go for that. Plus, he still had a Regan in the back. He probably thought he could handle it, but now, even with my 2 main support units gone, my Dorothea was gone, my Micaiah, my nuclear one-shot unit, and also slash support was gone, but my core was left. And this core is a very strong core. It has red, blue, and green, so I have all weapon triangles, and it's just a very good defensive wall. So, after I didn't even have to move Niffle because of this, I decided to take out the Brave Alm, because I knew that was going to be an extremely big threat. I knew Brave Alm was stronger than Regan, and could do the wind sweep strategy. I just needed to get rid of that, so I opted to take out with Niffle, knowing that Sigurd, if Sigurd decided to attack Niffle, she could counterattack, most likely kill. She was also protected by Edelgard, also giving her damage reduction, and she wouldn't be able to be taken out. So taking out this Brave Alm was probably very good, because PM1 couldn't do anything. There was nothing PM1 could do, and this is when the stall began. I knew that the biggest threat left was Regan. See, Regan was very interesting because she could get buffed from Sigurd thanks to the Cavalry C skill or whatever he had. Some I think it's like Goad Cavalry, I don't know. Some cavalry buffing skill. And she also has her C skill, which makes penalties appear if you have buffs. And since I really like to rally defense my Edelgard, that means I would be in a bad spot. So, this is when the stall began from turns 3 to 5. It was my core of defenses versus PM1's support, attack, whatever you want to call it. And pretty much PM1 slowly but surely backed me into a corner over a course of many turns. He couldn't do anything to take me out, but he was looking for a special maneuver with Ashe to be able to come in with Regan and then just take out one of my units by turn 5. PM1 was going for the long game, was going for the final move, and here's where I was at a disadvantage, because I only had 3 actions per turn, but PM1 had 4 because he still had his Dancer, and potentially a duo skill as well. So, as PM1 slowly but surely pushed me further and further back, the final turn began, and here's where my shame hit. This was such an interesting maneuver, no pun intended, but I didn't even mean to say that, I'm sorry. But yeah, this is such an interesting final map. So here's the thing. I won't say what I did. I'll probably just play it in the video because this match ended horribly. It really did. I did something that I really shouldn't have done, but we'll get into that right then. So here's the problem. I couldn't take out the Ashe with Marth. That could have given me a captain kill, but I couldn't defeat her. And the 2 units still left alive were Sigurd and Regan, and I knew that Regan was gonna go after the Edelgard. No matter what, no matter who was attacking, the Edelgard was PM1's target, and the Regan was buffed thanks to Sigurd's C skill, which is exactly what he was hoping for. Regan could not reach, but thanks to Ashe's maneuver, that means she could reach anybody she wanted to, and that was what really scared me. So here's where I made a small mistake play. The Edelgard probably should have swapped with the Niffle, but what I was opting for here was because I knew Edelgard had buffs, that if Regan attacked Edelgard, I would lose those buffs. I wasn't sure if Regan would, live. I wasn't sure if Regan killed. I don't think she was killing because she wasn't killing earlier, and I knew that just because of how PM1 was playing, that the Regan couldn't take out the Edelgard. But because the dance was there, I figured a dance with then Regan plus Ashe could take out the Edelgard. But I wasn't sure if Edelgard could kill Regan because, Regan's kind of a red unit. She can have little, lull speed defense. I don't know. I figured maybe she would be surviving, or maybe what PM1 could somehow do would be to attack Sigurd, or attack with Sigurd onto the Edelgard, then use Regan to attack Edelgard and take out Edelgard. So what I opted to do was to make sure that Regan could not attack me unless it was with a near save, because the near save does give you a little bit of a bonus to your defenses, so that would help me live. So I opted to put Edelgard outside of the capture area, and then my last turn was only with Marth. So PM1 had an advantage here. So here's the thing. The thing what you could do with Sigurd is you could come up, attack the Brave Edelgard, and then come up with Regan afterwards and kill the Brave Edelgard. However, I still had to move with Marth left, so PM1 could not move up the Sigurd to attack Edelgard, or else I could just use my Brave Marth and attack Sigurd and finish off Sigurd, thus giving me a captain kill, thus pretty much netting me the entire game. So PM1 could not do that. The only thing he could do was use Sigurd's dance, and so he opted to dance for Ashe. So this was the final turn. I had Marth left. All I could do was opt to attack Ashe, couldn't kill, and that was it. So what I decided to do, I'll just show it in the video.
PM1. Oh, wait! Is that a capture point? Wait, hold on, that's a capture point! He can't move! That's the capture, that's game! No way! He got the win! Did he just want a meme? What just happened?
Yeah, so here's what was going on my mind during that turn. This is something that I look back on with shame. I can't really, it hurts to watch, personally, for me. I don't like watching this anymore. This was such a brilliant match, and I decided to end it in such a stupid way. So, that was intentional. I was going into this thinking that I had no chance against PM1, I would just lose, and then I could show that meme, whatever. but I wanted to fight him. So I selfishly thought, here's the thing, I'm gonna try and play it to the end, see if I can win. Once I know that I win, I'll just be like, I surrender, you can go on through the tournament, Phoenix Master 1. Because here's the thing, so many people were cheering for Phoenix Master 1, they wanted to see him go all the way, they wanted him to win it. I wanted him to win it because I love Phoenix Master 1, I've been watching him for like 7 years. You know, it just felt very weird. But moving Marth out of the capture area meant that PM1 didn't even have to initialize, and he just won the game. So what I thought I was going to do, my intention was during this turn, I wanted to do something funny. This was not funny. I'll explain this a bit later, but I was thinking what I wanted to do for my last turn was to immediately come down, attack Ashe, take her out, and then just surrender. I don't know. I was trying to figure out a funny way to end it. I couldn't think of anything, so I was like, I'll just move Marth up here, then I'll lose. But here's the thing, I think even if I was trying to win this, PM1 most likely would have won anyways, because I'm not 100% sure, but maybe if Regan was able to come up, attack the Edelgard and live, trigger the Panic C skill, then Ashe could come up and take out Edelgard. I'm not 100% sure. I don't really know what the damage calculations were. I'm not sure if they were up or like what Edelgard's defenses were at this time. I'm not even sure if Regan would live. I don't know if Phoenix Master could have taken out the Edelgard here. I just don't know. So if I left Marth there, we'll never know. And that's the sad thing, is what I did was very unsportsmanlike. So while the audience was extremely entertained, my fellow players were not. I won't go into the details of like what each person said, but pretty much what I did was very stupid, and I look back on it with extreme shame and regret and sadness, because basically what I did, so everyone thought I had won, right? I'm not 100% sure. Again, I don't know if Phoenix Master 1 could have taken out the Edelgard, but let's say that I was going to win, right? Basically what I just did here was I threw the game and joked about it and pretty much disrespected Phoenix Master 1. I disrespected somebody that I have immense respect for, someone I had been watching for years. This wasn't my intention in the slightest, but that's basically what it came off as. And I'd also wasted 40 minutes of everybody's time, considering if I was going to forfeit anyway, that means Phoenix Master 1 was going to move on to the tournament, meaning that we didn't even need to play this match, meaning that the stream wouldn't have gone on for 12 hours, all that stuff. So what I did was very inconsiderate, and I regret it, and it's not something that I ever want to do again. I don't know, I can't really look back on this. I did apologize to Phoenix Master 1 and to Ghast for wasting time and, you know, doing what I shouldn't have done. They accepted my apology, which was nice, but next time I'm not going to do anything like this ever again, just throwing. Even though the audience was entertained, I don't know, I think the idea was I just wanted to do something funny. I wanted to go out in a bang, and I had seen plenty of Smash YouTubers do like people for Smash YouTubers would forfeit, and you know what the Smash YouTubers would say? They're like, oh, we take those. So I figured everyone would react to it gladly, but it definitely was not. Very unsportsmanlike, not professional in the slightest, so that was the end of my tournament run. But I learned from my mistake. I learned not to do stuff like that again. I learned that it's not good to do that, like both as a content creator, as a person, as a competitor. I don't know. That was a big mistake. But PM1 did go on to become the follow-up, only losing to Eldervi, who played amazingly. So, you know, that was how the tournament ended and how my run ended. So even though I thought that game was amazing, the ending is just something I'm so ashamed of that I don't really like rewatching. It really truly does pain me, and it probably still will for quite a long time coming. But, you know, as we'll move on, we'll have some more tournaments. Maybe we'll get the run back against PM1 under better circumstances. Once again, though, I was so glad to be able to participate in this tournament. I can't wait to join the next one. I don't know when the next one is, but I'll definitely be joining it if I can, if there's like enough slots. It was just so much fun. I met so many different people. I got to meet Phoenix Master 1 and Ghast, two people I've looked up to and watched for years. And even though I made a terrible first impression, I think I may have repaired that a little bit. I don't know. We'll see where things go from here, but I don't know. This tournament was a really good growing experience for me as a content creator, as a competitor, and as a person. So I'm extremely grateful for the tournament, and even though I ended it in a stupid way, I almost don't regret it because I learned such a good lesson, but I do regret it still. So. But yes, that will be it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, if you made it this far. Let me know if you want to see more of this type of content, because I don't know, I'm trying something new. I just think it'd be fun to go over like tournament runs like this. With that said though, have a great day, everybody. I'll see you all in a future episode. Bye-bye.